The emergency alarm rang through the medical ship. Red lights flashed in every hallway. Dr. Hyunwoo Kim was drinking coffee in the break room when the sound started. He put down his cup slowly and walked to the medical bay. His steps were calm and steady. He had heard this alarm many times before. Nurse Ji-won Park was already there. She was checking the medical tools and preparing the surgery room. Her hands moved fast but careful. She knew exactly what to do. When Hyunwoo walked in, she looked up and gave him a quick smile. "We have an emergency patient coming," Ji-won said. "It's a Drekthari commander. High rank, very important. He has a bad tooth infection." Hyunwoo nodded. He walked to the computer screen and pulled up the medical scans. The images showed a large creature with scales and sharp teeth. One tooth was clearly infected. The area around it was swollen and dark. Hyunwoo studied the images carefully. He had never worked on a Drekthari before, but teeth were teeth. Bones were bones. The basic ideas were the same. "The infection has spread into the jawbone," Hyunwoo said quietly. "We need to take the tooth out soon. If we wait, it could kill him." Ji-won came to stand beside him. She looked at the scans too. "Their medical officer won't do the surgery. It's against their culture. They say it's wrong to go inside a superior's mouth." Hyunwoo raised his eyebrows. "So they called us instead?" "We're the only medical ship in this area," Ji-won said. "They don't have a choice." The door opened. Captain Bora Choi walked in. She was a tall woman with short gray hair and sharp eyes. She looked tired but alert. "The Drekthari ship is almost here," she said. "They're scared of us." "Just so you know," Hyunwoo turned to look at her. "Scared of us? Why?" Bora smiled a little. "Because we're human. The galaxy thinks we're dangerous. They say we're predators who enjoy causing pain. Our medical practices terrify them." Ji-won laughed softly. "That's silly. We help people. We heal them. To them, pulling out a tooth while someone is awake is like torture," Bora said. "They don't understand how we can do surgery without putting patients completely to sleep. They think we're monsters." Hyunwoo went back to looking at the scans. Well, if they want their commander to live, they'll have to trust the monsters. 30 minutes later, the patient arrived. The doors to the medical bay opened wide. 4 Drekthari soldiers came in first. They were huge, almost 3 meters tall, covered in dark blue scales. Their eyes glowed with a faint light. They carried weapons and looked around the room with suspicion. Behind them came High Commander Velthos. He was even bigger than his soldiers. His scales were a deep purple color with gold patterns that glowed softly. He had large wings folded against his back. His face was long with sharp teeth showing even when his mouth was closed. But despite his size and power, Hyunwoo could see the pain in his eyes. The commander was suffering. A smaller creature came in last. It looked like a large insect made of crystal. Its body reflected light in rainbow colors. This was Ambassador Rilix. The creature's many legs clicked nervously on the floor. "High Commander Velthos," Bora said, bowing her head slightly. "Welcome to our ship. This is Dr. Hyunwoo Kim. He will take care of you." Velthos looked down at Hyunwoo. The doctor was so much smaller than him. Hyunwoo could fit inside the commander's mouth easily. The thought was probably not comforting to anyone. "You are the doctor?" Velthos asked. His voice was deep and rough. Speaking clearly caused him pain. "Yes," Hyunwoo said simply. "Please sit down. Let me look at your tooth." Ambassador Rilix made a sharp clicking sound. "Commander, perhaps we should reconsider. These humans are known for their brutal methods. They cut into living flesh. They break bones. They cause pain deliberately." Hyunwoo looked at the ambassador calmly. "We cause temporary pain to prevent permanent damage." "It's not the same thing. Your species evolved as hunters," Rilix said. The crystal body was shaking slightly. "You chased your prey until they collapsed from exhaustion. You understand suffering intimately because you inflicted it for thousands of years." "That's true," Hyunwoo said. He didn't seem bothered by the accusation. "We learned to read pain. We learned to track injuries. We learned to be patient and persistent. Now we use those same skills to heal instead of hunt. Is that really so terrible?" Velthos held up one large hand. "Enough." He looked at Hyunwoo with tired eyes. "Can you fix this?" "Yes," Hyunwoo said. "But I need to examine you first." The commander slowly sat down on the special medical bed. The bed had been made larger and stronger to hold him. Ji-won brought over the medical tools. Hyunwoo washed his hands carefully and put on gloves. "Open your mouth, please," Hyunwoo said. Velthos hesitated. Opening his mouth to a predator species went against every instinct. His soldiers moved closer, hands on their weapons. The room was tense. Everyone could feel it. Slowly, carefully, the commander opened his jaws. Hyunwoo stepped forward without fear. He picked up a small light and looked inside. The mouth was huge. The teeth were as long as his fingers. There were venom glands near the back. Bioluminescent patterns glowed on the inside of the cheeks. Fascinating, Hyunwoo said quietly. He wasn't talking to the commander. He was talking to himself and to Ji-won, who was watching and learning. The tooth structure is similar to Earth crocodiles, but with a secondary root system. The infection is deep. It's reached the bone. We'll need to extract the whole tooth and clean the wound thoroughly. Ambassador Rilix was shaking harder now. You see? He speaks of it so casually, as if he's not about to cut into the commander's flesh. Hyunwoo stepped back and let Vel'Thos close his mouth. He looked at the commander seriously. I won't lie to you. This will hurt. I can give you medicine to block most of the pain, but you'll still feel pressure and pulling. The other option is to put you completely to sleep. But that has risks with your species. I've never done that before. I could make a mistake. How long will it take? Vel'Thos asked. 2 to 4 hours, Hyunwoo said. Maybe longer if there are complications. And if I refuse? The infection will spread to your brain. You'll die within 3 days, probably very painfully. The room was silent. Everyone waited for the commander's decision. Vel'Thos looked at Hyunwoo for a long moment. The human doctor looked back without fear or aggression. Just patience. Just calm professionalism. Finally, Vel'Thos spoke. Do it, but I will stay awake. I will not show weakness by sleeping through this. Hyunwoo nodded. As you wish. Ji-won, prepare the nerve block. Let's get started. As the medical team began their preparations, one of the Drekthari soldiers whispered to another, Is he not afraid? How can he be so calm? The other soldier shook his head slowly. I don't know. Maybe the stories are true. Maybe humans really are the galaxy's most dangerous predators. They just decided to use their hunting skills for healing instead of killing. That might make them even more frightening. Ji-won worked quickly to prepare everything. She laid out the surgical tools in perfect order on a metal tray. Scalpels, forceps, suction tubes, and extraction tools. Each one was clean and ready. She had done this hundreds of times, but never for a patient like this. Never for someone who could accidentally kill them with one wrong move. Hyunwoo stood beside Vel'Thos and explained each tool. He picked them up one by one and showed them to the commander. This is a scalpel. Very sharp. I'll use it to cut away the infected tissue. This is a forceps. I'll use it to grip the tooth. This is for suction. It removes blood and fluid so I can see what I'm doing. To the Drekthari soldiers watching, it looked like a predator showing off his hunting tools. They gripped their weapons tighter. Ambassador Rilix had moved to the far corner of the room as far from the surgery as possible, but Vel'Thos seemed calmer now. Seeing the tools made them less scary somehow. They were just objects. Simple metal things, not so different from tools he had seen before. I'm going to give you the nerve block now, Hyunwoo said. It's medicine that stops the pain signals from reaching your brain. You'll feel a small sting when the needle goes in. Then the area will go numb. You won't feel pain, but you might feel pressure. Is that okay? Vel'Thos nodded slowly. Do it. The commander opened his mouth again. Hyunwoo took the syringe from Ji-won. His hands were completely steady. He reached into that huge mouth without any sign of fear. The soldiers watched in amazement. How could this small human be so calm? Did he not understand the danger? Hyunwoo found the right spot and carefully inserted the needle. Small pinch, he said quietly. He injected the medicine slowly. Good. Now we wait a few minutes for it to work. As they waited, Dr. Tae Yang-yoon entered the room. He was an older man with gray hair and glasses. He was a specialist in alien anatomy. He carried a tablet computer and was reading information about Drekthari biology. Interesting, Tai Yang muttered to himself. The venom sac is connected to the tooth root. We'll need to be very careful not to rupture it. Also, their bone density is 3 times higher than humans. The tooth will be difficult to extract. Hyunwoo listened carefully while checking if the nerve block was working. He touched different areas inside Vel'Thos's mouth with a small probe. Can you feel this? He asked each time. The commander indicated when he felt something and when he didn't. Good. The medicine was working. We're ready, Hyunwoo said. Ji-won suction ready. Tae Yang watched the monitors. Let me know if his vital signs change. He looked at Vel'Thos. I'm going to start now. If you need me to stop at any time, raise your right hand. I'll stop immediately. Okay? The commander nodded. His glowing eyes were fixed on Hyunwoo's face, watching, judging, trying to understand this strange human who seemed so fearless. Hyunwoo picked up the scalpel. He leaned in close, using a small headlamp to see better. His hands moved with careful precision. He cut away the swollen gum tissue around the infected tooth. Ji-won used the suction tube to keep the area clear. As he worked, Hyunwoo talked, not to the patient but to his team. The infection has caused significant tissue damage. I'm removing the dead tissue now. The bone underneath is exposed. Yes, I can see the abscess pocket. We'll need to drain this. The Drakthari soldiers didn't understand this at first. Why was he narrating everything? Was he bragging? Then one of them realized the human was teaching. Even in the middle of a dangerous surgery, he was passing his knowledge to the younger nurse. This was how humans learned, by doing and teaching at the same time. Suddenly, Velthos's jaw started to close. It was an automatic reflex, the body trying to protect itself. Hyunwoo quickly pulled his hands back. The huge jaws snapped shut just centimeters from his fingers. The soldiers jumped forward. Rilix made a high-pitched clicking sound of alarm. But Hyunwoo just waited calmly. He didn't look angry or scared. He just waited for the commander to open his mouth again. That's normal, Hyunwoo said. His voice was still calm. It's a reflex. Your body is trying to protect you. It's okay. Let's try something different. When I need you to stay still, I'll tap twice on your jaw like this. He demonstrated with 2 gentle taps. That will be the signal. Can you do that? Velthos opened his mouth again and made a sound that meant yes. He was surprised. The human wasn't angry about almost being bitten. He just adjusted and tried a different approach. This was not what Velthos expected from someone supposedly so brutal and aggressive. Hyunwoo went back to work. This time he tapped twice before each important step. The commander learned quickly. He kept his jaw open and steady when he felt the signal. They developed a rhythm together. A strange kind of trust was forming. The abscess is drained, Hyunwoo said after a while. Now for the tooth itself. This will take longer. The roots are deep and the bone is very dense. He picked up a different tool. It looked like pliers but more complex. He positioned it carefully around the infected tooth. You're going to feel pressure now. It might be uncomfortable, but it shouldn't hurt. Remember, raise your hand if you need me to stop. Hyunwoo began to pull. Gently at first, testing the tooth's resistance. It didn't move. The roots were firmly embedded in the jawbone. He adjusted his grip and tried from a different angle. Still nothing. Taeyang, what's the bone density again? Hyunwoo asked. 3 times human standard, the older doctor replied. And the tooth has triple roots instead of the usual 2. Hyunwoo nodded. We'll need to use the oscillating drill to loosen it. Ji-won, prepare the drill, please. Ji-won handed him a small tool that vibrated at high speed. It would help break the bone's grip on the tooth roots without damaging the surrounding tissue. Hyunwoo showed it to Velthos first. This will make a buzzing sound. It vibrates very fast. You'll feel strong pressure and hear the noise. It's not dangerous, okay? The commander nodded again. He was starting to trust this process. The human always explained before doing anything. He never surprised the patient. He treated Velthos with respect even though the commander was at his most vulnerable. The drill buzzed to life. Hyunwoo worked carefully, using the vibration to loosen the bone around each root. It was slow work. Minutes passed. Then more minutes. The doctor's back began to ache from bending over. His arms got tired from holding the tool steady. But he didn't stop. He didn't complain. He just kept working with the same calm focus. Ji-won noticed and brought him water. She held the straw to his lips so he could drink without stopping the surgery. He gave her a grateful look and continued working. An hour passed. Then another. The observation window above the medical bay filled with people. Other crew members had heard about the surgery. They wanted to watch. Medical Overseer Kixnar, an inspector from the Galactic Health Consortium, arrived and began recording everything. Private Kessera, a young Drakthari soldier, stood near the window with the other soldiers. She watched Hyunwoo work with growing fascination. The human had been at this for hours. His clothes were damp with sweat. His hands must be cramping. But he never stopped. Never gave up. This was the famous human persistence everyone talked about. Seeing it in person was different from hearing stories. He won't quit. Kesra whispered to the soldier beside her. Even if it takes all day, he won't quit. That's what makes them dangerous, the other soldier replied. They never stop. In battle, in hunting, in healing, they just keep going until the job is done or they die trying. Inside the medical bay, Hyunwoo finally felt the tooth loosen. It's coming, he said quietly. Jiwon, get ready with the gauze. Taeyang, watch for bleeding. He gripped the tooth firmly with the extraction forceps. Slowly, carefully, he began to pull. The tooth resisted. He adjusted the angle slightly. Pulled again. There was a small cracking sound as the last bit of bone released its grip. The tooth came free. It was huge, almost the length of Hyunwoo's arm. The roots were thick and covered in dried blood. The bioluminescent pattern still glowed faintly. Hyunwoo held it up so Vel'Thos could see it, then immediately turned his attention back to the wound. The extraction was done, but the surgery wasn't over yet. Now came the careful work of cleaning and closing the wound to prevent new infection. Hyunwoo set the extracted tooth aside carefully. It would be studied later. Right now the wound needed attention. He leaned back into Vel'Thos's mouth with a small irrigation tool. Clean water flowed through the socket where the tooth had been, washing away blood and bits of infected tissue. I need to make sure we got all the infection, Hyunwoo explained. His voice was tired but steady. If we leave any behind, it will come back. We have to be thorough. Jiwon used the suction tube to remove the water. The inside of the wound was now visible. Hyunwoo examined it carefully with his light. He looked at every surface, checking for any signs of remaining infection. There, he said, pointing to a small dark area. More infected tissue. We need to remove that too. He used a small curette to scrape away the infected bone. It was delicate work. Too much pressure could damage healthy tissue. Too little would leave infection behind. Hyunwoo worked with perfect control, his exhausted hands still precise. More time passed. Another hour. Then another. Hyunwoo had been working for over 3 hours now. His back screamed in pain. His fingers were cramping. His eyes hurt from the bright surgical light. But he kept going. Captain Bo-ra watched from the observation window. She quietly canceled all of Hyunwoo's appointments for the next day. He would need rest after this. She also sent a message to the kitchen asking them to prepare a good meal. The doctor would be hungry when this was done. Below, Vel'Thos was also tired. Keeping his mouth open for so long was difficult. His jaw muscles ached, but he didn't complain. He didn't ask for breaks. If the small human could endure this, so could he. It was a matter of pride now. Clean, Hyunwoo finally said. The infection is completely removed. Now we close the wound. He took a curved needle and special thread from Jiwon. The thread would dissolve on its own after the wound healed. No need for a second surgery to remove stitches. Hyunwoo began sewing the gum tissue back together. Each stitch was neat and even. He worked like an artist, making sure the tissue would heal properly with minimal scarring. You're very good at this, Taeyang commented. I've watched many surgeries in my career. Your technique is excellent. Hyunwoo didn't respond. He was too focused. Each stitch had to be perfect. The commander's life depended on this wound healing cleanly. Finally, the last stitch was done. Hyunwoo tied it off and cut the thread. All done, he said softly. You can close your mouth now. Vel'Thos slowly closed his jaws. The relief was immediate. He worked his jaw gently, testing it. The pain was gone. There was soreness from the surgery, yes, but the terrible throbbing infection was gone. For the first time in weeks, he felt like he could think clearly. Hyunwoo stepped back and pulled off his gloves. His hands were shaking slightly from fatigue. Jiwon quickly brought him a chair. He sat down gratefully. Thank you, he said to her. He looked up at Vel'Thos. The surgery is complete. I'm going to give you antibiotics to prevent new infection. Also pain medicine. The wound will hurt as it heals, especially for the first few days. Don't eat hard foods for a week. Soft foods only. And keep the area clean. Jiwon will show you how. Vel'Thos nodded slowly. He looked at the small human with new eyes. This was not a monster. This was a healer who had just spent over 4 hours bent over in an uncomfortable position, working with complete focus to save his life. The human had never complained, never rushed, never cut corners to make the job easier for himself. Thank you, Vel'Thos said. The words felt inadequate. How did you thank someone who just saved your life with such dedication? Hyunwoo smiled tiredly. You're welcome. That's what we do. Now rest. I'll check on you later. The Drakthari soldiers helped their commander to a recovery room. Private Kesra stayed behind. She approached Hyunwoo cautiously. "Doctor," she said. "May I ask you something?" Hyunwoo looked up at the young soldier. "Of course. Why were you not afraid? The commander could have killed you so easily. One bite, one wrong move. Yet you put your hands in his mouth without hesitation." How Hyunwoo thought about this for a moment. "I was afraid," he admitted. "Fear is normal. Fear is good. It makes you careful. But fear doesn't stop the work. I knew the risks. I took precautions. And I trusted that the commander wanted to live more than he wanted to hurt me. But your people are known as predators," Kesra said. "They say humans are dangerous, that you evolved hunting other creatures, that you understand pain because you caused it for thousands of years." "That's all true," Hyunwoo said. "But we also evolved caring for pack members. Human children are helpless for years. They need constant care. We learned to be patient. We learned to endure discomfort to help others. We learned to read pain so we could ease it. Yes, we were hunters, but we were also caregivers. Both things are part of being human." Kesra tilted her head thinking about this. "I never considered that. We see humans as dangerous, but maybe the danger was redirected, changed from hurting to healing." "Maybe," Hyunwoo said with a small smile. "Now if you'll excuse me, I need to rest." It's been a long day, but Hyunwoo didn't rest. Not yet. 8 hours later, in the middle of the ship's night cycle, he returned to check on Velthos. He did it quietly, not wanting to wake anyone. But the commander was awake. "Doctor," Velthos said, surprised. "Why are you here? Did someone call you?" "No," Hyunwoo said. "I came to check on you. How do you feel?" "Better. The pain medicine works well. The fever is gone." Velthos looked at the doctor curiously. "But you should be sleeping. You worked for many hours. You must be exhausted." "I am tired," Hyunwoo admitted. "But I needed to make sure you were recovering well. The first hours after surgery are critical. If there were problems, I wanted to catch them early." Velthos was quiet for a moment. "You care about your patients very much?" "Of course," Hyunwoo said, as if it was obvious. "That's the job, but I am not your species. I could have killed you today. Yet you treat me like I matter. Like my life is worth the same as a human life." Hyunwoo sat down in the chair beside the bed. "You do matter. Your life is worth saving. That's what medicine is about. We don't just help humans. We help anyone who needs help. That's the promise doctors make. To heal whoever comes to us, regardless of who or what they are." "In Drakthari culture, showing weakness is shameful," Velthos said quietly. "Asking for help is seen as failure. I almost died because I waited too long to seek treatment. I was too proud to admit I needed help." "Humans have a saying," Hyunwoo replied. "Only the strong ask for help. The weak pretend they don't need it and die quietly. There's no shame in needing help. We all need help sometimes. The brave thing is to ask for it." Velthos considered these words. They were very different from what he had been taught. But after today, he was beginning to think the humans understood some things better than his own people did. "You were afraid during the surgery," Velthos said. "You admitted it to Private Kesra, yet you didn't let fear stop you." "Fear is information," Hyunwoo said. "It tells me to be careful, to double-check my work, to have backup plans. Fear keeps patients safe. The dangerous thing isn't feeling fear. The dangerous thing is pretending you don't feel it. That's when mistakes happen. So humans feel fear but proceed anyway? Yes, courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is doing what needs to be done despite the fear." Velthos was silent again. Then he said something unexpected. "I misjudged your species. We all did. You're not monsters. You're just very good at what you do. And what you do is save lives, even at risk to yourselves." Hyunwoo smiled. "I'm glad you understand that now. Get some sleep, Commander. Your body needs rest to heal." "Wait," Velthos said as Hyunwoo stood to leave. "There's something I want to know. What will you do with the tooth?" "We'll clean it and preserve it," Hyunwoo said. "For study. And if you want it back when you leave, you can have it. Some patients like to keep them as souvenirs." He smiled at the commander's surprised expression. "Sleep well, Velthos. I'll see you tomorrow." The next morning, Ji-won arrived early to the medical bay. She was carrying something unusual, a large container with a thick, colorful liquid inside. She had spent her evening researching Drakthari nutrition and creating a special meal replacement drink. It had all the vitamins and proteins Velthos needed, but it was soft enough that he could drink it without chewing. "I made this for the commander," she told Hyunwoo. He needs nutrition but can't eat solid food yet. This should help, Hyunwoo smiled at her. That was thoughtful. I'm sure he'll appreciate it. In another part of the ship, Taeyang was also working. He had translated all the post-surgery care instructions into the Drekthari language. He created a detailed guide with pictures showing how to clean the wound and what symptoms to watch for. He even added notes about what foods would be safe to eat and when the commander could return to normal eating. Captain Bo-Ra had also been busy. She sent messages to Velthos's fleet, giving them updates on his condition. She made sure they knew their commander was recovering well and would be ready to return soon. She also arranged for the extracted tooth to be cleaned and mounted as a gift. When Jiwon brought the drink to Velthos, the commander was surprised. You made this for me? Why? Because you're our patient, Jiwon said simply. We want you to heal properly. Good nutrition helps healing. Velthos tried the drink. It was actually good. The flavors were adjusted for Drekthari taste preferences. She had researched everything carefully. This is excellent. Thank you. Private Kesra, who had been keeping watch, spoke up. You humans are very strange. Yesterday we thought you were dangerous predators. Today you're making special meals and writing guides in our language. Which one is true? Jiwon laughed. Maybe both. We can be fierce when we need to be, but we're also nurturing. Humans have always been both. We hunt, but we also protect our pack. You're part of our pack now, at least while you're patients on this ship. Meanwhile, in the observation deck, Medical Overseer Kixnar was reviewing the surgery recording. Kixnar was an alien who looked like a floating jellyfish with long tentacles. The inspector had come to evaluate human medical practices. The Galactic Health Consortium had many complaints about humans. They needed to decide if humans should be allowed to practice medicine on other species. Kixnar had expected to find proof that humans were too dangerous, too aggressive, too brutal. But watching the surgery recording showed something different. Yes, the humans used invasive techniques. Yes, they performed procedures that other species would never attempt. But every action was careful. Every decision was explained. The patient was treated with respect and compassion. Interesting, Kixnar muttered. The inspector's tentacles moved in patterns that showed deep thought. Very interesting indeed. Ambassador Rilix had also been watching the recordings. The crystal mantis was still nervous around humans, but less terrified than before. What do you think, Inspector? Are they safe? Safe? No, Kixnar said. They are not safe. They are capable of great harm, but they have chosen to use their capabilities for healing. That choice matters. That choice makes all the difference. Will you recommend them to the consortium? Rilix asked. I will recommend careful consideration, Kixnar said. The humans have skills we lack. They can perform surgeries we would never dare attempt. They have persistence we cannot match. But more than that, they have something we rarely see. They genuinely care about their patients, even patients from species that fear them. The inspector sent a preliminary report to the Galactic Health Consortium. Within hours, the video of Velthos's surgery began spreading through galactic networks. Aliens across the galaxy watched the recording. Reactions were mixed. Some species were more convinced than ever that humans were dangerous. Look how calmly he cuts into living tissue, they said. Look how he pulls out a tooth the size of his arm without hesitation. These creatures have no proper fear of causing harm, but other species saw something different. Look how carefully he works, they said. Look how he explains everything to the patient. Look how he comes back in the middle of the night just to check on recovery. These creatures understand dedication. A debate started across the galaxy. Were humans dangerous predators who happened to be useful? Or were they natural caregivers who happened to have predator origins? The discussion grew heated in galactic forums and news networks. On the medical ship, the humans were unaware of the controversy. They were just doing their jobs. Yunwoo checked on Velthos 3 times that day. Each time he examined the wound carefully, checking for any signs of infection or complications. Each time he was satisfied with the healing progress. On the 3rd day, Velthos was feeling much better. The pain was minimal now. The swelling had gone down. He could speak clearly without discomfort. He asked to speak with Hyunwoo privately. Doctor, Velthos said when they were alone, I need to ask you something important. Would you consider coming to the Drekthari homeworld? My fleet needs medical officers. Officers who are not afraid to perform difficult procedures. Officers who will work with warriors, not just around them. Hyunwoo was surprised. You want human doctors for your fleet? I want the best doctors, Velthos said. And I have learned that sometimes the best doctors are the ones we initially feared. Your methods work. Your dedication is clear. Your compassion is genuine. These things matter more than shared species. I'll have to think about it, Hyunwoo said. But I'm honored you would ask. Private Kesra also approached the medical team. I want to learn human medical techniques, she announced. I want to study how you do things. My people need better emergency medical training. Will you teach me? Ji-won smiled at the young soldier. Of course. We'd be happy to teach you. Even Ambassador Rilix, despite still being nervous around humans, wrote a report to the consortium. Human medical staff should be considered for frontier hospitals, the report said. Locations where conventional approaches have failed. The humans' unconventional methods may be exactly what is needed in difficult situations. As word spread, other alien species began contacting the medical ship. Some wanted to schedule appointments, some wanted to ask questions about human psychology. How did a species that evolved as hunters become such dedicated healers? A group of scientists arrived on the ship to study this question. They interviewed Hyunwoo and his team. They watched recordings of various procedures. They tried to understand the connection between human evolution and human medicine. I think I understand, one scientist said after several days of research. Humans evolved with intense empathy. They had to. Human babies are helpless for many years. If early humans couldn't imagine and respond to their children's pain, the children wouldn't survive. So humans developed the ability to feel another's suffering as their own. They learned to imagine pain so vividly that ending it became an imperative. That makes sense, another scientist agreed. Combined with their persistence hunting traits, the ability to keep going despite discomfort, the patience to pursue goals for hours or days, you get a species perfectly designed for medicine. They can endure the difficulty of long surgeries. They can imagine the patient's pain clearly enough to want to end it, and they never give up on a patient. Hyunwoo listened to these discussions with amusement. You're making it sound very complicated, he said. We just want to help people. It's not that deep. But that's exactly it, the first scientist said. For you, it's simple. Wanting to help is just natural. That's what makes you effective. You don't overthink it, you just do it. On his last day aboard the ship, Velthos received a package from Captain Bora. Inside was his extracted tooth, cleaned and polished. It was mounted on a beautiful stand. An inscription was carved in both Drakthari and Korean script. It read, "To the hunter who chose to heal. The galaxy is safer with you in it." The commander was moved by the gift. He held it carefully, studying the tooth that had caused him so much pain. Now it was just an interesting artifact, a reminder of the day he learned that the most frightening species in the galaxy was frightening for all the wrong reasons. No, he corrected himself quietly, for all the right reasons. They're frightening because they care so much, because they'll fight so hard to save you, because they won't give up, no matter how difficult things get. That kind of dedication is terrifying in its own way, but it's the good kind of terrifying. 6 months passed. The galaxy was changing in small but important ways. The video of Velthos's surgery had been watched billions of times. Debates about human medicine continued in every corner of known space. Some species remained fearful of humans. Others became curious. A few became admirers. The Galactic Health Consortium held many meetings. They discussed human medical practices for weeks. Finally, they announced new policies. Human doctors would be allowed to practice on other species. But more than that, humans would be invited to teach their methods to alien medical students. The consortium recognized that human techniques, while unconventional, had value. A new training program was established. It was called the Persistence Protocol Initiative. The name came from humanity's famous persistence hunting. The program taught alien doctors how to handle long, difficult surgeries, how to stay calm under pressure, how to push through fatigue without making mistakes, how to never give up on a patient. Hyunwoo was invited to lead the first class. He stood in front of 30 alien medical students from 15 different species. Some looked nervous. Some looked skeptical. All were curious about the human standing before them. "Welcome," Hyunwoo said. "I'm not here to tell you that human methods are better than your methods. I'm here to share what we've learned. You can take what's useful and leave what isn't. Every species has valuable medical knowledge. We should all learn from each other." He spent the first day talking about fear. Fear is your friend, he told them. Fear makes you careful. Fear makes you double-check your work. The goal isn't to eliminate fear. The goal is to work with fear as your partner, not let it stop you from helping patients. One student, a tall being covered in fur, raised a tentacle. But humans are known for being fearless. The stories say you face danger without hesitation. Hyunwoo laughed. Those stories are wrong. We feel fear just like everyone else. We just don't let it control us. There's a difference between being fearless and being brave. Brave means doing what needs to be done even when you're afraid. The program was successful. Students learned that human medicine wasn't about being aggressive or brutal. It was about persistence, adaptability, and genuine care for patients. Graduates took these lessons back to their home worlds. Medical practices began to improve across the galaxy. Ji-won also became an instructor. She taught emergency medical response. Her classes focused on quick decision-making and resource management. In emergencies, you won't have perfect conditions, she told her students. You have to work with what you have. Stay calm. Prioritize. Do your best with the resources available. That's all anyone can do. Private Kesra graduated from the program and returned to the Drekthari fleet. She became their first combat medic trained in human techniques. She saved many lives in the following months. Her success inspired other Drekthari to study medicine. The culture slowly began to change. Seeking medical help became less shameful. Saving lives became as honored as taking them in battle. Vel'Thos himself became an advocate for human medical practices. He spoke at consortium meetings. He shared his experience. I was dying, he told other leaders. My own medical officers couldn't help me because of cultural restrictions. The humans had no such restrictions. They saw a patient who needed help and they helped. It's that simple. Maybe we should all think more like that. A new saying began spreading through the galaxy. Different species translated it in different ways, but the meaning was always the same. If you need surgery, pray you get a human doctor. They're the only ones crazy enough to care more about saving you than saving themselves. Mixed species medical teams became common. The consortium required each team to include at least one human, not because humans were better, but because they brought a unique perspective. They approached problems differently. They never gave up. They reminded other species that medicine was about patients, not protocols. One evening, Hyunwoo returned to his quarters after a long day of teaching. He found a package waiting for him. It was from Vel'Thos. Inside was a holographic projector. When activated, it showed the commander standing in full ceremonial armor. Dr. Kim, the hologram said, I wanted to give you an update. The medical reforms we discussed are proceeding well. We now have 15 Drekthari studying human medical techniques. 3 have already graduated and joined fleet medical teams. Mortality rates have decreased by 30%. Lives are being saved because you taught us that asking for help is strength, not weakness. The hologram paused. But more than that, I wanted to thank you personally. You treated me with respect when I was vulnerable. You worked for hours to save my life even though I was a stranger from a species that feared yours. You showed me that the measure of a being isn't their species or their power. It's their actions. Their choices. You chose to heal. That choice changed everything. Hyunwoo smiled as he watched the message. He was tired from teaching, but this made it all worthwhile. He picked up the extracted tooth that sat on his desk. The one Vel'Thos had given him as a gift. He looked at it for a long moment. Ji-won had suggested mounting it in the medical bay as a trophy. But Hyunwoo kept it in his private quarters instead. It wasn't a trophy. It was a reminder. A reminder of why he did this work. A reminder that every patient, no matter how different or dangerous they seemed, was just someone who needed help. He thought about his own journey to becoming a doctor. He had been a field medic during the Mars uprising. He had seen terrible injuries. He had worked in awful conditions. He had lost patients despite his best efforts. Those experiences had taught him something important. Medical care wasn't about being perfect. It was about trying. About caring enough to try. That night, Hyunwoo wrote in his personal medical journal. He did this after every significant case. It helped him process and learn. He wrote about Vel'Thos, about the surgery, about what he had learned from the experience. At the end, he added a final thought. The commander asked me why I wasn't afraid. I told him I was afraid, but that fear was information. I should have told him the complete truth. I'm terrified every time I operate. Terrified I'll make a mistake. Terrified I'll miss something important. Terrified I'll cause unnecessary pain. But here's what I've learned. Being afraid of hurting others is good. That fear makes me careful. That fear makes me better. He paused, thinking carefully about his next words. Then he continued writing. Maybe that's the real difference between humans and many other species. We evolved as hunters, yes. We know how to track. We know how to pursue. We know how to cause harm when necessary. But we also evolved as caregivers. Human children need years of constant care to survive. We had to learn patience. We had to learn to read pain and respond to it. We had to learn to put others' needs before our own comfort. Both things are part of being human, the hunting instincts and the nurturing instincts. Medicine lets us use both. We hunt down problems in the body. We pursue solutions with the same persistence our ancestors used to pursue prey. But we do it with compassion. We do it with care. We do it because we can imagine another's suffering so clearly that we must try to end it. The galaxy was afraid of us because they only saw the hunter. They didn't understand that humans can be fierce protectors too. Now they're starting to see it. Not because we told them, but because we showed them. We showed them by treating their sick, by saving their lives, by caring about them even when they feared us. Hyunwoo closed his journal. Tomorrow he would teach another class. More alien students learning human medical techniques. It was good work. Important work. Not because human methods were perfect, but because sharing knowledge made everyone better. He looked at the tooth one more time before turning off the lights. It sat on his desk, polished and preserved, catching the faint light from the corridor. A tooth from a space dragon pulled by a human doctor. It seemed impossible when you thought about it. But impossible things happened every day when people chose to trust each other, when they chose to help instead of hurt, when they chose compassion over fear. That was the real lesson. Not that humans were special or superior, but that everyone had value to share. Every species had knowledge worth learning. Every patient deserved care, regardless of who they were or where they came from. That was what medicine was supposed to be about. That was what made it worth doing. As Hyunwoo drifted off to sleep, he smiled. Tomorrow would be another day of teaching, healing, and learning. Another day of showing the galaxy that the most human thing wasn't the ability to endure or persist or overcome. The most human thing was the choice to use those abilities for someone else's benefit. Even when they were different, even when they were dangerous, even when they were afraid of you, that was humanity's real gift to the galaxy. Not fearlessness, not aggression, not even superior skills. Just the simple, stubborn insistence that every life was worth saving. Every patient was worth the effort. Every being deserved compassion. That was the message. That was the lesson. And slowly, very slowly, the galaxy was learning to understand it.